All right. Hey, Alex. Nice to have you on. So happy that you are doing this interview with us. So, and by us, I mean me. All right. So, just go ahead, introduce yourself, and tell us what you do for a living.
Hello, my name is also Alex, Alex B. Um, I'm an electrician. I'm 27, will be 28 very soon in a few weeks. And um, yeah, that's me.
Nice. All right. I'm going to put this on speaker view real quick if I can. Maybe not. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right, cool. So tell us a little bit about, where your health was or where, you were in your fitness journey before starting with the AB Fit family and program.
Well, try and keep it short, I guess. Pretty much my whole life, I've wanted to be like in pretty good shape. And I think so like even when I was like a young teenager, I went to the Y and worked out. And when I was a teenager, I wanted to be like really huge, and I idolized The Rock, who you told me recently is on steroids and basically ruined my hopes of that. But I don't think he was back then. So I did idolize him. I looked at all the muscle mag and stuff like back in high school, and but I like could never stick with like any routine for a very long time. I was always switching things up and would never commit to anything. I mean, I've done Orange Theory, which I loved. I did CrossFit, which I mostly loved, except for the injurious part potential of it. But it was a lot of fun, and I've worked out at home. And just going to the gym like randomly with different programs and apps and stuff, but I've never stuck with anything for, I would say, more than a few months at a time. So right before we started training, I guess I was just kind of in a funk. I had stopped doing CrossFit for probably 6 months to a year, and I really wasn't doing anything. And I also like to eat. I have a very big sweet tooth, and I really don't have too many good influences around me. So I'm kind of my own. I have to discipline myself when it comes to that. I'm not very good at that either. And I don't really have many good influences like nutritionally around me, period. So kind of going at it alone in that sense, or I was before we started training. So I really wasn't doing anything before I started training with you for a while there.
Mm-hmm. And how do you think, like, not having a routine or not being able to find something that you could stick to, and also on top of that, going at it alone, how do you feel like that affected your life as far as health wise?
I think it definitely was detrimental. I know, like, I'm in my upper 20s now, and I can definitely say in the last few years, I've noticed a lot more the effects of, I guess, the lack of nutritional discipline or even awareness, although I'm pretty aware of like nutritional, like what I should be eating. So it's more discipline, lack of that. But I would say I'm more aware of that, and lack of, I guess, working out too, although nutrition is like kind of a bigger factor, I feel like, for me. But I feel like in the last few years, I've seen like physically, the changes, right? Like my metabolism slowing and other things that happen as you get older, versus maybe 5 to 10 years ago when I could not do much or do things inconsistently and not really notice the effects that much. Like I wouldn't really grow much, but I would still stay relatively skinny and I had a fast metabolism. But I would definitely say in the past few years, like I feel like, I noticed a little more belly fat. And it's really slow, really creeps in, but it's like you look in the mirror one day or at a picture and you're like, wow, like what is that? Where did that come from? And also like, yeah, like nutritionally, I feel like just how I feel overall and like my overall health, like throughout the day, I definitely like maybe couldn't pinpoint what it was, but definitely was not where I wanted to be as far as like throughout the day at work and feeling sluggish and stuff, you know. So it was definitely something I could feel physically.
Yeah. And I like what you said about, your nutrition like affecting, how you feel like physically, like feeling sluggish and things like that. So how do you think, those aspects of your life has changed since joining our program?
Well, I would say since we started, I know I started tracking my food right off the bat, and I noticed some big changes right away. I would say, especially like increasing my water intake because I pretty much have always hated water, or, I was always like reaching for a sugary drink, and I didn't like water. But until you track it, I feel like you don't necessarily realize how little water you're getting as opposed to what you need.
Yeah.
Definitely when you get into the gym, and you start exerting yourself more, you really notice if you're dehydrated or not where you should be. Um, so I would say within a month or so after we started, I noticed like I was feeling better. And I mean, working out consistently, I think, after every workout, and obviously with you keeping track of my increases in strength and what I'm lifting and stuff, like I noticed that change. But I do also think that I was like noticing throughout the day that I felt better. Um, just overall like less fatigued and um, yeah, just better.
Yeah. And I know you talked a lot, which is super important to a lot of people about, like your mental state and, just gaining that strength and just feeling better overall, really figuring out, what you're actually putting in your body as far as food tracking and water tracking. But I know you had like physical body goals as well. So how do you think, that's changed since you started?
Well, that's something I never really did before either, was like track my progress. So I guess obviously a very visible change in my physique has occurred as witnessed by the progress photos that we've taken. And it is really cool to see like side by side you're from when you started to where I am now, um, and knowing that we're not done yet, and I'm still working out with you, still you're still training me, so like we still have a ways to go, but I'm already seeing like the change from the beginning, and it is amazing. Like you don't necessarily notice it, day to day, but when you look from the beginning to now, it's really drastic. And even the earlier photos, you really pointed out like only I think we were only a few months in, and you pointed out like some of the changes that like were more subtle, but you pointed out like I think it was my delts and like the proportion of my chest to my belly, like I was going in, and like you look at it and it's like, wow, like yeah, you're right. And that was only after a few months, which I guess I wasn't really necessarily expecting. So it's really cool to see visibly the
Yeah,
change.
that's awesome. Yeah, definitely. I think progress pictures are so important. And like you said, you hadn't really physically taken pictures before to like track your progress. And I think it's so cool because, like you said, day to day, you don't really see the progress and the 1% better you're becoming. But when you look back and you have that proof to look back on and be like, whoa, like I really am making like awesome improvements. So that's definitely been really cool to see in you, especially. Next question I have for you is, we've um, gained a lot of tools, since starting like tracking your food or I don't know, that's one I can think off the top of my head, but what do you think it has been the most like beneficial tool or best tool that you've gained through this process that's led to your success so far?
Well, I definitely think tracking the food is probably the number one thing because, you know, when you, like, if you haven't tracked food before and you start to do it, like, you just realize, like, what you're eating. And for me, at least, it was kind of amazing to see, like, it was just, well, I was very inconsistent, like I might eat a ton one day and not hardly at all another day. But when you do it more consistently, you start like logging what you're eating and you see what each food, like how the macros weigh in. And um, like that really had a big effect on me too. And I know nutrition is a huge part of, getting where I want to be, like with muscle and body fat. So like you have to manage what you're eating, right? And so I feel like if I didn't track it, it would be a lot harder. So by tracking it, I'm able to like know that I'm, within a certain range of where I should be. And I feel like that has affected my progress. Like, I feel like if didn't track my food, or I wasn't like the goals that you gave me, if I wasn't close to those, I wouldn't have made the progress that I did. Maybe I would have made progress, but it would have been slower. Um, but then also for me, like, I don't know if it's a tool, like I guess, I don't want to call you a tool, but I guess
Cool.
like just putting my workouts together for me and not like me not having to think about it. Like that was one of the worst things about it. I think what's led to the inconsistency and me just giving up after a while because it was so tedious and I didn't know like what I should be doing, or I did like if I didn't see progress in a week, I wanted to change it. So just you like giving me the programming, like when I come to work out, is huge, and we just get right to it. I don't really have to think about it. I mean, that's huge for me.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like, a lot of people have gym memberships, but they get frustrated and then end up, not going because they go and they're like, okay, so what should I do? And they either like jump on a piece of cardio equipment or, they just bounce around from machine to machine, not really having any um, plan, I guess, in place. And like you said, kind of switching what you're doing all the time. So you're not really actually seeing that progress. So, no, that's definitely important. And that's how you're going to see your progress for sure. So, joining this program, when did we start? September. Yeah, end of September. So, were you kind of skeptical to join at first, or what ultimately made you make that decision to take the leap and join?
Yeah, I was definitely skeptical because I haven't done anything like this before. Um, and it definitely was like, I guess, kind of out of my comfort zone because I was like, I guess I kind of like felt, I don't know, like, not that you would judge me, but, because obviously I'm coming in, like, I'm not in very good shape, and maybe that you would judge me, but that I wasn't where I wanted to be, so I would feel judged. Not that you would judge me,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like a lot of people feel that way going into a gym anyway.
Yeah,
Um,
that's fair.
so there was that, and then, but I guess I mean the reason I ultimately decided to do it was pretty much the only thing I hadn't tried. Like I said, I had tried almost everything else, except for having a trainer. And even like CrossFit and Orange Theory and stuff. I mean, I stuck with those for a decent amount of time, but I pretty much still had to motivate myself to go there, um, you know, and even doing the workouts, I didn't really have the one-on-one attention that would motivate me. So I might slack off a little bit more than I would having somebody like directly, monitoring me. But it was definitely, I was definitely apprehensive at first. and like the financial aspect too, because, you know, I really had no idea what to expect going in. And when we first talked about the numbers, like I was kind of surprised. I mean, I didn't really know what to expect. So, you know, when we talked about like what the cost would be, I was thinking like, well, you know, it's like that's a little bit of a sacrifice. Um, but, you know, like when we first met and you start talking about my goals and like what I really, really want in the long run. And actually, when I got to really thinking about like what you're putting into it versus what the cost was, you know, I almost feel like you're underpaid. So I'm like, well, you know, you think about everything she's putting in and all the hours, like for me, I mean, it is pretty fair. So, yeah, I mean, it really was the only thing I hadn't tried. And um, yeah, I mean, I'm happy so far.
Yeah, good. So yeah, no, that brings up a interesting point, like with the investment and the cost. And like you said, you know, you might be surprised at the numbers at first with how expensive it is. Like, I'm not gonna like sugarcoat it, it's gonna be expensive to, you know, have a one-on-one trainer. Um, but I just want to reiterate, you know, do you think, you know, making that investment in yourself and your health and your body and your goals was and is worth the investment?
Yeah, I do. I was, yeah, thinking about that recently and like how far we've come. I think we're like 9 months in or almost 9 months in, something like that.
Crazy.
Yeah, and like, yeah, I mean, I feel like I was actually thinking about like when we get done, like what I'm gonna do from there, or like if I want to keep it going because this whole like quarantine thing happened at the worst time, and I'm like, you know, I'm really getting where I want to be now, and like everything's gonna be closed down, and I mean, hopefully things start to open back up, but like it's not ideal right now, and I'm like, I've made all this progress, and I'm not even able to necessarily, you know, show it off like I was planning. So I don't know. I'm already thinking about hiring you like next year again. But as far as like so far, yeah. I mean, I'm like, yeah, I'm very satisfied with where we are.
Nice. I love it. So, last question for you. I respect your time. I don't want to keep you too long. So, um, you've gone through this program for, like I said, 9 months now. Who would you think this program is for? Like, what type of person or someone with what type of goals? Who do you think this would be good for?
Well, um, I know it's good for somebody like me. So I mean, my goals are, you know, like pretty general, pretty normal. Like I want to gain muscle and also lose fat, but I don't want to be huge. And I don't want to be like a stick. So I just kind of want to be like well-rounded and balanced. You know, a decent amount of muscle, but also um, like a decent amount of body fat, like a good amount. Um, so I know it's good for somebody like me, but I feel like, you know, and originally I wasn't sure because I'm like, you know, she's a chick, like maybe she's just gonna like, you know, try and tone me down and, you know, have me do all cardio and
Run a million miles a day?
yeah, and lose all my muscles and like, you know, but yeah, you actually don't make me run much at all, which I really appreciate. And I should have known that from your Instagram handle, like you said, but you know, it didn't click. So um, I know it's good for somebody like me, but I mean, after working with you, I'm sure that you could tailor it to just about anybody. And even along our way, you know, you've adjusted like with my goals. Like originally, we started like bulking up, and I was taking in more calories. Um, and then the last like few months before this all happened, we were trying to cut more for the summer, and yeah, like you've adjusted accordingly. So I feel like with that, you know, you could work with a pretty broad range of goals and tailor it specifically. Because like, you know, you've asked me like almost every week, like how, like what, how I want to do going forward and what my goals are and if they're changing. So, you know, I feel like you could probably do that for just about anybody.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like that's important too, like when you hire a trainer to really make sure that, you know, whoever you're hiring, that they take your goals in mind. And it's not just like me putting on you, hey, I think you should do this, because maybe they don't want to do that. So definitely like working in collaboration with you has been awesome. And I think we work really well together, and I'm super happy to have you as a client. And I'm so proud of all the progress you've made. You're killing it. So I wanted you on this interview today so we could show you all. So without further ado, that's all I have to say. Do you have any last remarks that you would like to give to the people? Some insights, tips, tricks, anything?
Um, I guess, well, for one, I hope they reopen gyms soon so we can get back in there, because that's helpful. But no, other than Alex is a really good trainer, and I'm really happy with our progress so far. And yeah, if you want to see my progress pics, she has them. I'm sure she'll be happy to show them off. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to what the future holds.
Definitely. Love it. Well, thank you so much again for coming on and talking a little bit to us and answering some questions. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you again.
Yeah, my pleasure.